Hi, I'm Jeff Davis. For this On the Wine Road podcast, I'll have a conversation with a guy I truly respect. He's a vintner, a marketing guru, and a hell of a nice guy. Tony Lombardi. You're invited to pull up a chair and join us in the lounge.
I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, although I was born to a family of entrepreneurs. So starting a business, I guess, was always in the background, but I wasn't encouraged to do so.
When Tony and I first met, he was working for the coveted Pinot Noir cult brand, Kosta Browne. He has since moved on to his own Lombardi Wines and continues to offer PR to other small family wineries. I've interviewed some of his clients in the past, but I felt it was time to shine a light on Tony and his brand. We met for the interview at La Dolce Vita Wine Lounge in Petaluma, California. And it was only about 4 p.m, yet the lounge quickly filled up, as you'll notice. If you will, please listen to the entire interview so you'll hear details about a philanthropic mission that is important to Tony's family, Hilinski's Hope. I suppose there's a chance it may benefit someone you know. Stay locked in to find out. On the Wine Road podcast is sponsored by Sonoma Clean Power. For those of you in the area, learn how your actions can make a greater impact with clean, renewable energy at poweringeverydaymoments.org. That's poweringeverydaymoments.org. I like the wine that Tony is crafting. When I tried them in the past, I found them to be similar to the style Kosta Browne was known for. A silky mouthfeel that carried a depth of rich fruit that I just love. I asked Tony if he agrees with my comparison.
That's actually a great observation, Jeff. I started my little brand in 2013 with a first vintage of 2012. And it was at that time I hitched my wagon to longtime friend, winemaker, viticulturist Cabell Coursey, who, again, 1 degree of separation, was our winemaker at Kosta Browne during those years. And, so the sites, the exceptional vineyard sites, are kind of a stream through my journey into wine. And some of the longest grower relationships I've had, some going back as much as 20 years in Sonoma County and specifically Petaluma Gap. But those first vintages were all about creating wines, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, with, again, depth of flavor, texture, mouthfeel, with elegance and intensity to really show off the individual vineyard sites that I was working with.
So by 2011, Kosta Browne was already a well-known brand, right? So how did you score Cabell?
Again, lucky by association.
Because certainly you couldn't afford him at that point.
No, my gosh, no. He's a storied character, having made wines and planted vineyards, developed vineyards all around the world. So his journey in wine has taken him to Burgundy, to Austria, to Germany, making wines in New Zealand, Australia, up in Oregon, and we grabbed him at the time in 2011 from Andy Smith and Dumal to lead our winemaking at Kosta Browne during those years that I started my little brand.
Wow, that's great. People may recognize his name from the brand Coursey Grapes, so he's that Coursey.
He is that Coursey, and it's an exceptional winery vineyard site if anybody gets the chance. I was just there yesterday, and I'll be there tomorrow hosting customers from Atlanta, which he's a 6th-generation kid from Decatur, so just north of Atlanta. But it is on top of Bennett Mountain, above the Bennett Valley. People recognize and know where Matanzas Creek is. The winery there, it's right behind it, up on top of the mountain, about 1,200 feet up.
A beautiful view from up there.
Really is. And what he's built in terms of, again, the estate vineyards, which are all comprised of Rhone and Bordeaux varietals up there. But he also sources from a vineyard he has down here in Petaluma, where my family has been since the mid-'40s. He's got a beautiful ranch of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir that is off of Spring Hill Road, just to the west, and in direct view of the Petaluma Gap, or right in the middle of the Petaluma Gap. So wines made by wind.
Do they still have the Coursey Grapes tasting room in Healdsburg?
They do, and it's not open every day of the week, but it is staffed for private appointments, as is visitation of the winery up on top of Bennett Mountain. I encourage you to check out both those spots to taste the wine that Cabell makes.
I know you spent a majority of your life here in Sonoma County, as you kind of intimated, and your family were farmers for a long time here. And you've grown up with a number of successful winemakers and owners. And so did you see yourself owning your own brand when you were younger, or did it kind of evolve into it?
You know, it really truly was an evolution for me. I never thought of myself as a business owner, never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, although I was born to a family of entrepreneurs. The Lombardi family has been in Petaluma since 1947, so after the war. And they were restaurateurs, they were retailers, they owned markets. And so starting a business, I guess, was always in the background, but I wasn't encouraged to do so. And I'll be forever grateful to two people we just mentioned, Dan Kosta and Michael Browne, who encouraged me to start my own little business while I'm working for them. And who does that but entrepreneurs themselves? So.
Right. My listeners might be familiar with the Italian wine region Lombardy, which is spelled very similar to your name, Lombardi. And I was wondering, did your family emigrate from the Lombardy wine region?
Yeah, you know, the beauty of like 23andMe gives you kind of the journey of your family in various regions. And what I've found, although I have a personal story of coming to America that I got to hear directly from my great-grandfather, Nazareno Lombardi, but he came from a small iron ore mining town called Sassoferrato near the town of Ancona in the La Marche region, which is just south of Lombardia and Piemonte. But going back, it looks like I had a lot of I guess DNA, but genealogy of a family coming from a Germanic family line, but even family coming up from the southern parts of Italy, including Sicily. But my family, like I said, Nazareno Lombardi grabbed a childhood friend, Cesare Mondavi, and in 1914 they immigrated to the U.S. And through the iron ore rust belt, if you will, of Minnesota and Michigan before making their way out to California.
Wow. Yeah, the Mondavis did pretty well coming over here.
Yeah, if you've heard of that name before. You know, and again, it's like you hear these stories and you don't exactly believe them, but it wasn't until I read that book, Robert Mondavi's book, Harvests of Joy, and that was probably 97, 98. I was new to the wine business, and here I was reading his book, and all these references and family history came flooding back forward to me, really, and the connection the Mondavis and Lombardis had.
That's great. Wonderful. Speaking of connections, you must have some good ones since you source from Russian River Valley and Gap's Ground Vineyard for your wines, because that's not inexpensive fruit.
No, again, lucky to have relationship and friendships with growers, families of growers throughout Sonoma County, in particular Petaluma Gap. It was always important for me to make a Petaluma Pinot, and no better place than to grab a little bit of fruit, which I do every year from Gap's Crown, from one of my mentors in this business, Bill Price, who owns that vineyard and many others along the Sonoma coast. But Rob Harris, who runs and manages that vineyard for Bill, including other Price family vineyards throughout Sonoma County.
You've adopted the allocation method as opposed to a wine club for your Lombardy brand, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. Is that working for you?
It is. You know, again, I'm fortunate. I've over the years have built a nice little demand for our wines, and I make so little of it that this was the best model that worked for us. And so, you know, for 3 weeks in March, I released my 2 appellation wines, the Sonoma Coast Chardonnay, the Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. And then in the fall, in October, for those same 3 weeks, release even smaller quantities of single vineyard Pinot Noirs. And how it works is simply that, you know, you may be allocated, 6 bottles of one wine, 6 bottles of the other, and an ability to wish. And so, how that also works is for the people who don't take their allocation and the people that wish, I just take those unused bottles and spread them to the people who want them, and it sells out. I'm lucky. I'm distributed in about 4 or 5 states with small amounts, and then the rest sells direct.
That's great. Yeah, it gives you more flexibility on your distribution. And how many cases are you up to now?
I'm a whopping 850 cases, Jeff. But I might see my first year of growth with the 23 vintage. The last few years for any of us in the wine business have seen, the challenges of weather, the challenges of drought, even, the influx of fires that have affected Sonoma County. And so what that has done is seen both yields of wine and volumes of wine kind of go up and down. And so 23, the best vintage this year.
Awesome. It's amazing what you can accomplish with just 850 cases. I've often said that some of the best wine out there is smaller produced wines that you can come across, and always keep your eyes open for those.
Yeah, I think so too. And really the support of small family wine businesses is so critical. These are little small businesses throughout Sonoma County and the greater area of wine that produce wines that are near and dear to them. They're personal. They're made in quantities that are small. They grow organically, even by a customer at a time, a region at a time, and that's simply how I've approached it as well. And starting a marketing company in 2015, I wanted to work with small family wine businesses that just needed a little help, in PR, in marketing, and in sales, that could help them really through the art of relationships and introductions to people that make connections and friendships.
Your wine country side hustle you got going on.
That's right. And that's what I love to do. I was born from that, telling journeys and personal stories of people and brands. It's a little harder to talk about yourself.
Yeah, you were wondering why I wanted to talk with you today instead of one of your clients, which I've done, thanks to you. We're drinking your 2013 Chardonnay right now. It's aging very well.
I wanted to revisit some older vintages where I may have like a case or two left, and this was my second vintage of wine, and it was, and I can go back to the day. It was 4 tons of Montrachet clone from Bernie Orsi and his Guerneville Road ranch that I was lucky to get. Yeah. And with Cabell's help, we made a wine that really showcased that fruit and that vineyard. And over the years, it's taken on this character that almost has a little bit of reduction, has a little bit of oxidation, and it just takes me back to wines I love to drink, and that's white Burgundy. White Burgundy palate, California Pinot Noir palate, that's me.
Those go well together. It's got that California fruit and a little more in your face, which I love.
I do too. And again, having represented brands and varietals all over the world, I've settled in the beautiful artistry that is Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. It's just so versatile. It goes with everything, every occasion, every food, and it could be on the porch. It could be with every part of your 3 or 4 course dinner, and it is just that versatile. Listen, I've always said, and I'm going to borrow a line from Michael Brown, and he always said, you want to hang out with your buddies, watch a football game, and enjoy a big ribeye, bone-in steak with a gorgonzola butter, you drink Cabernet. You want to dance with a beautiful woman, you drink Pinot Noir.
That sounds like Michael. He loves that rich, deep, flavorful Pinot Noir, which I do too, and I love chatting with him and have him spread out 8 glasses of wine for me.
Yeah, one of my longest friends and a mentor that really instilled in me something that I'll be forever grateful. And so,
can you believe he got James Kirk to narrate his autobiography?
Well, Morgan Freeman was taken, so his goal was to have Captain Kirk tell his story, his words, and boy, did he deliver. Yeah. A winding journey of elegance in the Russian River Pinot Noir.
Yeah. Imagine having William Shatner narrate your autobiography. That's phenomenal. I'll return with Tony Lombardi in a moment. Then you'll hear about his 2024 River Cruise on the Seine in France and how that will benefit Hilinski's Hope, a cause that is a vital undertaking adopted by Tony's family.
Our lives are built on moments, the morning routines and weekend road trips. As your public power provider, we at Sonoma Clean Power thrive on sustaining everyday moments, and we do so with a clean energy future in mind. We know these moments are cherished forever. Together, we can protect today's moments and those yet to come. Learn how your actions can make an even greater impact at poweringeverydaymoments.org.
Lombardi Wines is successful enough that people pay Tony to join him and other vintners on a river cruise to experience some incredible sights and excursions while enjoying their wine. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I didn't think I would become the cruise guy, but this will be my fourth European river wine cruise that I've hosted with my wines. Most recently on Uniworld, last year I took clients and friends, Anna Molaraki from Blue Farm, Ryan Pritchard from Three Sticks, and Philippe Thibault with Stone Edge Farm. And together we created an agenda and an itinerary of wines, dinners, tastings, and the beautiful backdrop of the Danube River going from Germany through Austria down into Hungary. And next year I will be returning to Europe with my family and friends, and we're hosting on the Seine River. So it's a Paris to Paris. And what is that? That's Paris heading towards Normandy. And so walk the Omaha beach and see the American cemetery and turn around and come right back to Paris with our wines. And I'm bringing longtime family friend Henry Belmonte and his VJB and Wellington Cellars brands.
Bringing along some Italians, huh?
Yeah. So it's funny. Henry and I have known each other since high school. So we, it's so cool, and our families are connected even still. My youngest son is dating his oldest daughter, so it's back in the family again.
I love chatting with Vittorio. I go over there sometimes. I've been there for coffee at 6:30 in the morning. He's there working,
And getting an espresso with Vittorio and Maria in their beautiful shop in the Sonoma Valley in Kenwood. It's I encourage you to visit. It's like being in a Tuscan village, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And those joining in the cruise through Lombardi Wines can feel good about supporting an important cause that you and your family are closely associated with, Hilinski's Hope.
Yeah, this is, it hasn't been the first time I've done fundraising for charities that are near and dear, but this one in particular hits the heartstrings. It's our family's foundation, Hilinski's Hope, where we help fund mental health and wellness programs for student athletes at universities and high schools around the country. And so this cruise, for those that join us, a portion of the proceeds will go towards our foundation and our work. We'll put together, even an onboard auction. We'll create some items that are sports memorabilia and things that will assist us in our efforts.
And that's helped thousands of athletes across the country who may be suffering from mental illness.
Yeah, so many that suffer in silence. But in this case, like a lot of things that are born from personal tragedy, we lost our godson and nephew, Tyler Hilinski, 5 years ago. And it set forth a path of a mission to help other families not suffer the same thing we did. And, you save one, it's all worth it. And in the work that we're doing, the access to assistance at the university and high school levels for kids, removing the stigma associated with mental health and illness, it will be our life's work. And so to create fundraising opportunities for this and to see the real impact it has for kids and families is something I'll be, again, forever grateful to be a part of.
Watching the movie, you're really taken by the fact that, in a sense, mental depression and mental suffering is another silent killer. You hear about these heart disease that can be a silent killer, but Tyler showed no effects of being depressed or having challenges, and just one day, it was shocking. They always said he was the smile in the room. He was the one that brought happiness when he walked into a place.
Yeah, he really was. And even talking about him now, just it gives me chills. But talking about him keeps his memory alive and him close to us. And so I love talking about Tyler. But you're right. There's so many Tylers out there that feel that they can't open up or connect. They suffer in silence. What we find out later, is that this was the kid that was the smile. He was the peacemaker for everybody, his friends, his family. You'd think he had it all, right?
And he was a successful quarterback.
Successful quarterback. You're a starting quarterback in the Pac-12. You're on top of the world. What could you be suffering? And yet, his family, his friends, his coaches, his teammates, none of us knew. And so there's people out there suffering. So I always say, you don't know what people are carrying around, and to be kind always.
I found the ESPN production on the Hilinski family on their program E60, and man, the story just tears your heart out. And I was welling up watching it.
Yeah, we've had the good fortune of having our words spread, and with people like Greg Bishop and Ivan Meisel with Sports Illustrated, through ESPN and the E60 piece, really telling our story of sports and family, has been able to broadcast this message to a greater audience that we never thought possible. And so winning the Stuart Scott Award for that piece, it's truly, it's amazing. It's heartfelt. We're grateful because the work is not done, the message is not done, again, will be our life's journey.
I'm continually impressed with the philanthropic nature of the wine industry. Millions of dollars is raised each year through the sale of wine and through auctions and donations, and a percentage of wine bottle sales and experiences like your Seine River Cruise. So here you are helping out Mark and Kim Hilinski.
Yeah, I never thought that being a part of this industry, this generous wine community, would have this kind of impact. But now, having been in it almost 30 years, I've felt it has been so rewarding that here through, making wine, sharing wine, that we can raise money and awareness for worthwhile causes and communities and the people of those communities around the country. I never thought this possible. Again, back to the word grateful, to be in a position that I could share my wine and it raise and impact these causes that families and communities are affected by. I love it, and from that you create these lifelong connections and friendships with people around things that really matter, and that is the beauty of this industry. And I'm lucky to be a part of it now with my marketing company and trying to get my clients to join me, these other small family wine businesses around the country to do good work, and at the same time create long-lasting friendships. Love it.
Yeah. So you can understand how I feel being in the position to be a catalyst to spread the word.
Yes.
And meet people like you who are just so genuine and so wonderful. And I enjoy this. This is the best part of what I do, other than just drinking the wine. It's great to get out, and I couldn't imagine it being any better.
Oh, it's not, and when I'm traveling to places like Raleigh, North Carolina, and helping the Frankie Lemon Foundation through their Triangle Wine and Food Experience, or I'm in Atlanta and I'm participating in the High Museum Wine Auction. It has direct impact of access to arts for children. Or if I'm in Birmingham with the Tum Tum Tree Foundation and its efforts to fund research and development in areas of cancer, or going to California Wine Masters down in Burbank and affecting real change and solutions for cystic fibrosis, all through the art of wine. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be happier.
And here we are helping our friend Sahar at La Dolce Vita in Petaluma, and we're sitting in her tasting room here, enjoying some wonderful wine that she offers, and which is an incredible wine list.
Oh, yes. Again, having been a lifelong resident of Sonoma County and living here in Petaluma for 30 years, these are the places, wine bars that are actually in your communities. Search them out. They're owned by small families, and this one is no different. Sahar and her family, Sudi, her sister, her mom in the kitchen who makes amazing soups, and I'm always asking what's the soup of the day, but really truly a gem in our community in the theater district of Petaluma is to come to a place that has such an amazing array of wines that are not just local, which she supports local wine producers, right, but she supports regions of the world which interest her. So you could have a an aromatic white from Italy. You could,
As I am right now.
you could explore France, Germany, Austria. I mean, great wines, Spain, South Africa, Argentina, and Chile, including New Zealand and Australia, all in one little wine bar in Petaluma called La Dolce Vita, the good life.
Exactly. And if you're here on the right night, you can enjoy a little Chardonnay from Lombardi Wines.
A little Lombardi Shardy.
Tony, thanks so much for sitting down with me, and it's a pleasure to see you again.
Pleasure is all mine, Jeff. It's always great to see you. I always love sharing a glass with you. Cheers.
I told you he was a hell of a guy. Tony Lombardi of LombardiWines.com. He spells his name with an I, by the way. If you go to his website and click on the Seine River Cruise page, you'll find a link to Hilinski's Hope. For the ESPN E60 documentary, search for it on Vimeo.com. It's an emotional tug at the heart, but I felt it was well worth watching. I appreciate you joining me again today. For more interviews, trivia, and event news, visit my website onthewineroad.com. I'm on Instagram as JD Wine Road, and On the Wine Road podcast is available wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Subscribe to it, and each episode will land automatically in your list of favorites. In the meantime, I'll catch you down the road. I'm Jeff Davis.